When students are preparing for IELTS speaking part 1, now I know that they often write down their answer, what they want to say, and so this is okay, but there's a problem, right? Because most of the time when you write down what you think is a good answer, you're writing written English, not spoken English. And so it might look something like this. There are several beaches that attract many tourists. I like to go to these beaches more weekends for a swim, for a paddle. Sometimes I just go for a stroll on the sand. Okay. Now, so that's okay. But the problem as well is that a lot of students then try to make it more complicated. Then they start crafting and creating a better answer. And it starts to become something like this. There are several beautiful beaches that attract a myriad of tourists. I like to go to these scenic spots most weekends for a swim or a paddle. Sometimes I just go for a stroll on the soft golden sand, and you start to sound like a poet. It becomes so written that is not natural, and that bad impression that pastel on your shirt has just some good words because it doesn't sound natural. It sounds like you've memorized a written answer. So how do you avoid this? Very simply, when you see the question you want to practice answering, speak out your answer, right? Speak out a natural answer, record it, and then if you want, write down what you've recorded. Make small changes but keep it spoken, right? And also a good tip is if you do write down what you've said, don't write sentences, write it chunks. Looks like this. Can you see there are different phrases one after the other? There are several beaches. Attracts a lot of tourists, and I like to go to one of the most weekends for a paddle sail. Yeah, it's big like this so that get a tip to if you are going to write your answer, write it like that. Yeah, so can you see it's much more natural, it's overcomplicated, not complicated. Yeah, that's really the best way to prepare. Not overcomplicated, and that is really a best way to prepare. Don't care, create and write down your answer, speak out, record it, and then you write down what you've said. Keep it natural, keep it spoken. It sounds like a great slogan, right? Keep it natural, keep it spoken, but it's true. Let's move on. And then the next question is that sometimes come up is quite difficult, right? What kind of jobs do people do there? What a difficult question. What kind of jobs do people do? Well, there's everything. There's postmen, the bankers, as much as bakers, the businessmen. I don't know whether it's a minor. Yeah, right? But what the examiner is looking at here is maybe in your town there's special industry that is particularly strong so you can talk about. If not that fine, right? You just give a more general answer. So you may say something like, well, a variety of jobs. I think there are a lot of fishermen actually, because fishing is the major source of income for that city. A number of people also work in the sea tourism sector. Sure and simply, right? Oh, we've looked at some of the question for hometown. Let's look now at home, sometimes accommodation. Here, the signpost right might be, let's talk about your home. Let's talk about your accommodation. That's the signpost, right? Then, the question, do you live in a house or a flat? Or sometimes the question is, what kind of accommodation do you live in? Examine is not their head, a lot riser to help you understand. So here you may say something like, well, I live in a flat in a high-rise buildings. It's in the suburbs of city. It's not too big, too small, but it's nice and cozy. So Here you probably want to learn some of the language around houses, a detached house, a townhouse, a bungalow, a flat, an apartment, high-rise building. Yeah. You may talk about the location, it's a suburbs, it's in city center, or it's downtown, or it's slap bang right in the city center. It's in the outskirts, okay? And then talking about the size, you know it's huge, it's small. You couldn't swing a cat in there if it's so small, not too big, not too small. Most houses could be that normal size, right? Nothing special is nothing to write home about. It's a nice expression. If something is not special, it's nothing to write home about, not too big, too small, but it's nice and cozy. Nice, be nominal, dry, short, and sweet. Nice and cozy, fish and chips. These are very common words with and or an on. Together it's nice and cozy. Now, talking about your home, another common question is, who do you live with? Well, it's none of your business, actually. It's a bit a personal question, right? I mean, maybe you're living in secret with your boyfriend or girlfriend, who knows? But remember, the examiner doesn't care who you live with, right? It's just about language. So maybe you live with your close family, your spouse, or children, maybe with your parents, or maybe you live on your own. On your own, possibly you are sharing a house with clubmates, schoolmates, university mates, yeah, who knows? How? Now, in the same way, do you remember we talk about your job, right? I work in a Santander bank. I've been working here for 5 years. We can do the same here if you feel comfortable with it. So maybe you say, I live with my wife. We've been together for 5 years, and with my daughter who is 2. For example, I live with my parents. I always live with them, actually. Or I live on my own. I've been living on my own since I left home. Or I share a house, actually, with some mates from university, and we've been living there together and sharing the house for about a year and a half now. Okay, and if you've got a pet, talk about your pet. We've had a dog or cat who lives with us too. Great. Now, the next common question about your homes is that how often decoration? Often decoration. So they may ask you, is your home decorated? Or what is your favorite what is your favorite dream? A very quick trick. If it helps you, you can repeat the question, right? How is my home decorated? Let me see. Well, my home is decorated with, yeah. What's my favorite room? Just a moment. Well, my favorite room is my bedroom. That's absolutely fine. If it helps you gain time to think, do it. It's not like IELTS writing where you have to paraphrase your synonyms. It's not like that. You can just be natural. We often repeat the question, right? In your natural language and your mother tongue. So you can do the same here. Talking about decoration, we can talk about furniture, photos, paintings, adornment, things like that. So you may say, well, for example, you can talk about plants. Yep. Maybe you've got a hello. This maybe you've got a bookshelf. Maybe you've got some kind of adornment like my little guitar, right? All of that, I tell you what that plant is looking a bit worse for wear, writing hang on. That should cheer it up. Apparently, they say if you talk to plants, they grow. Oh, come on, grow. Maybe not like that. So you can talk about decoration, maybe something like this. Well, my favorite room, I would say, is my bedroom. And in my bedroom, I've got a simple table and a chair from IKEA actually. And I've got two paintings hanging on the wall. One is portrait and one is landscape. Yeah, nice. Simple but some good language. Let's move on. Finally, another question you are often asked about your home is, do you like living there? You want to say briefly yes or no, and remember to say why. So maybe something like, yes, I do. I really like it actually because it's cozy and it's spacious and cozy there. There are plenty of shops and restaurants nearby and it's well connected. Let's move on to talk about what do you do. So, you'll hear the following. Let's talk about what do you do. You work or are you a student? Again, keep it short and sweet. Just say which one do you do, maybe what your job is and where do you do it, right? Do you work or are you a student? I'm a student actually, and I'm studying English at university of da 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 da. I work actually, I work in a bank and I'm a bank teller. Or I work in a school, I'm a teacher, I'm an English teacher. Then very often they ask, what do you do every day now? It can be tempting to give a list of lots of things. Well, I wake up, I prepare my classes, I give the classes, I have to make exams, I mark exams. You give a list. No, don't give a list. It's a bit better, maybe just say 2, maybe 3 things, but just a little bit of detail, right? Just a little bit just sounds more natural than a shopping list, right? So what do you do every day? Well, I teach. So I give classes online. I have to prepare my classes. I usually do some research for that. On top of that, I have to write report for my students. Just 2-3 things with more details. Next question. What would you like to change about the job? What do you like about to change about the job? Just now here, it's not what you like to change the job. It's what would you like to change about the job? What are the activities in your job you don't like, and you would change it if you could, right? So here, you may say something like, well, I'm not big fan of that. If I could, I would change that. It is great to something like that. So, for example, in my case, I'm not a big fan of writing reports actually. So, if I could, I would change that. It would be good to outsource that to somebody else actually. But all in all, I enjoy my job. All in all, just means overall. By large, right? So it's a nice way to summarize. What you're saying is right. I would change it, but overall, all in all, I enjoy my job. Next, remember there are many different kinds of questions you may get, but one of them could be, can you describe your work environment? Work environment is not so much the cars in the streets, outside the building. It's more about the room, the furniture, the facilities, the people, and the atmosphere you have at work, right? So you could describe your working place. I work in an office. It's an open plans office. I work from home. Actually, I do there about 20 of us. In the office, there are 20 other people. There's just me on my own. The facilities are pretty good. You could say, talking about the facilities, we have air conditioning, we've got a canteen, There's a gym or a crash where we can leave the children. Furniture, you may mention we've got a simple tables, comfy seats, ergonomic chairs, maybe if you are lucky. And the atmosphere, well, it's about how you get on with people, right? It's a tense atmosphere where everybody is on edge, or is it relaxed? Is it relaxed atmosphere where everybody is quite chilled out and laid back? There's good atmosphere where everybody gets on pretty well together. Brilliant. Let's move on. Now, look at studying. So you don't work properly, so you study. Some people I work and study at the same time, so they're not sure which one to choose. It doesn't really matter if you can remember again which one to choose. It doesn't really matter, right? Remember again, the examiner doesn't care so long as you are able to talk about stuff. That's what matters. So if you're a student and you say, I study there, they might ask you, well, what do you study? Yeah. If you already said what you study, the examiner will probably skip that question and go to the next one, or not. Sometimes they or no skip question and go to the next one, or not. Sometimes they just repeat the question to test you, right? So you've said I study biology in Oxford University, and then the examiner says, what do you study? And you go, biology. I just told you. That are you paying attention? Right? No, of course you don't say that. What the examiner testing is, as in a normal conversation, you can say, well, I mentioned before I'm studying biology and it's really interesting. So you're repeating but paraphrasing a little bit in a polite, acceptable way, as I just mentioned, I'm studying biology. Yep. Don't insult your examiner. It's not a good idea. Right? And then they may skip or move on. Often they ask you, not always, but often, why did you choose that subject? Now, here maybe you choose it, so say why. Maybe your parents chose it. You can explain that. Okay, you may want to say something like, to tell you the truth, my parents chose it for me. To be honest, my parents chose it for me. Or, well, I chose it because I've always been interested in biology. I've always enjoyed biology. I've always wanted to be a scientist. Right, nice use of the present perfect. I've always wanted to be a scientist or biologist. I was inspired by blah 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 from the famous biologist, and ever since then I've always wanted to be a biologist. Something like that you may want to add. I think it will be really useful for my future career. Again, keep it simple but explain why. Make sure you give a bit of detail on your reason. Moving on to another common question. Do you like it? It's sometimes you do right, sometimes you regret studying or choosing that subject, and you wish you had done something else. I can see an opportunity, right? Do you like it? Not really. I've realized now it's not my cup of tea. I wish I had chosen a different subject, actually. Lovely, right? I have realized it's not my cup of tea. I wish I had chosen, right? Something that is not true, but you wish it were. I wish I had chosen another subject. Brilliant. Or, absolutely, I've loved it, but I particularly like where we do experiments on the animals. Maybe, I don't know, because we get to learn about the anatomy of the different animals. So you can explain the part that you like and why, or you explain the part that you don't like and why. Do you like studying biology? Actually, it's very much, but I'm not really fond of the experiments we do on animals because I get a bit squeezy and I'd rather not experiment on animals. Don't be a biologist, my friend. Anyway, so we can talk about, yes, the thing you like or the things you don't like. Keep it fairly short and sweet. It's 2 or 3 sentences for each question. Great. There you have it. So we've talked about home, hometown, study, work. First impression are important. You don't want spaghetti on your shirt and you don't want to be the PhD show off at the party. You want to make a good first impression. That's it.